The third thread that we've been pulling on are these Gettier-type problems and cases. Now, I've suggested that these cases turn on the transparency of cognitive alignment. That is, our belief-forming strategies rely upon principles and regularities, upon consistencies beneath the transient flux of experience. Yet, misalignments can and do occur, and the alignment that our belief strategies have with the world often remains opaque in belief-forming contexts. In Gettier cases, the misalignment between the world and Smith's inference strategies remains opaque to him, and this leads us to suppose that he's justified in his belief, but fails to know, precisely because the truth of his beliefs, given this misalignment, is a mere matter of epistemic luck. And this brings us at last to the moment of truth, wherein the fundamental flaw is ultimately expressed and the anomaly revealed as both beginning and end. Each of these threads concerns how to understand the role, the nature, and the significance of our metacognitive appraisals of our beliefs and belief-forming strategies. Do we need to engage the skeptic in a zero-sum game in which we are only entitled to our beliefs if we can definitively refute his hypothesis a priori? Can we, as Goldman claims, deny that there must be an argument or reason or anything else possessed at the time of belief by the believer? The interesting thing about these issues is that they're fought as issues, isolated battles over particular approaches without any sort of conception about their overall role in real cognition. For instance, Bonjour insists, and the foundationalists insist, that we must always somehow have the ability to generate these elaborate justifications for our beliefs. But in practice, people can't really do that. And their beliefs seem no worse off epistemically for their not being able to do so. And this might lend credence to Goldman's claim. However, there are cases, clearly, where metacognitive appraisal turns out to be important. Reevaluating our situation as a result of new evidence would be a nice example. So as we enter into yet another module with yet another debate topic, I encourage you not to see them as separate, individual, and isolated debates over particular issues, but instead to see them as approaching the same topic from different angles. The epistemological literature generally doesn't draw a strong connection between the internalism versus externalism debate and the sort of naturalism inspired by Quine, but I do insist that that connection is actually quite strong. Naturalism rejects the notion of explicit or implicit renderings of abstract or reconstructed logical relationships between propositions as the exclusive source of justification, and this is certainly one vision of metacognitive appraisal. Hence, the debate over naturalism focuses on psychology versus a priori normative models. However, if one buys my line about the real nature of Quine's argument, he's rooting his rejection of the foundationalist project in epistemology in the inherent limitations of certainty. Thus, Quine also questions the potential of our internal evaluative states like certainty to provide a complete, original, and ontologically neutral epistemic justification of our knowledge. And this, too, is a comment on the relative importance, nature, and role of metacognitive appraisal in belief formation and justification. So Quine's rejection of traditional foundationalism is actually a consequence of Quine's naturalism, i.e., a rejection of internalism. In a similar fashion, the debate over internalism versus externalism makes little reference to the Gettier literature, though in fact all of Bonjour's examples are instances of Gettier mirroring. Each of Bonjour's reasoners forms beliefs utilizing real and reliable mechanisms. However, whereas in the Gettier-type cases, the mechanisms fail unbeknownst to the reasoner, in the Bonjour cases, the reasoner has evidence that their mechanisms fail despite their continued integrity. And so, again, these two cases, Bonjour's attempted counterexamples against reliabilism and Gettier's counterexamples against the justified true belief definitional theory of knowledge, they both turn on metacognitive appraisals of cognitive alignment. Participants in the internalism versus externalism debate tend to frame their arguments around adopting an externalist or objective perspective versus an internalist or subjective perspective. I want to suggest that this obscures the underlying issue, the role, nature, and significance of metacognitive appraisal in belief formation and justification. For example, Armstrong tells readers, it's a matter of a certain relation holding between the believer and the world. It's important to notice that unlike Cartesian and initial credibility theories, externalist theories are regularly developed as theories of the nature of knowledge generally, and not simply as theories of non-inferential knowledge. But all theories about knowledge are theories about such relations between the cognizer's states and the world. They are just couched in different ways and have different emphases on what is important or unimportant for the belief to count as knowledge. For instance, Armstrong, with his externalist theory of basic beliefs, is supposing that basic beliefs need have no element of metacognitive appraisal of their reliability. They merely need to be reliable in order for them to introduce epistemic warrant into the belief system. Descartes, on the other hand, would argue that Armstrong is wrong and that we in fact need some sort of subjectively accessible indicator of the relationship between our cognitive states and the world for the purposes of introducing an element of metacognitive appraisal into our judgments in order for those judgments to introduce any epistemic merit into the belief edifice. So in the next lecture module, we'll turn our attention to Kornblith's introduction to this debate.